What's going on, everybody? I'm back with another video. This video is going to be looking at Steven Gerrard's return to Anfield as an Aston Villa manager. And before we get into the tactics behind the match that saw Aston Villa push Liverpool right to the end, where ultimately the match concluded in a 1-0 Liverpool win. But first, be sure to check out both my books. They're online on Amazon and there's links in the description below. Also, be sure to check out Keyframe. It's how I made this video, but let's get right into it. So Aston Villa under Steven Gerrard goes in a 4-3-2-1 formation or in a 4-3-3 higher up the field. So in their mid block and higher, they very much go with a 4-3-3. We see the mid block of Aston Villa here highlights some of their principles out of possession. They look to control the midfield third using a high level of compactness horizontally and vertically, which limits the availability for Liverpool to find players in these dangerous positions between the lines. And Liverpool going with personnel like Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain and Jordan Henderson higher up the field allowed players like Mane, Robertson, and Salah and Trent Alexander-Arnold to play in the wide areas using dual width and then interchange these positions with these central players who are comfortable in playing multiple different roles using positional fluidity to Liverpool's advantage. Now, with the inclusion of Thiago and Fabinho within the Liverpool side, we would see Thiago drop deeper and connect with the first line of build-up with his Liverpool teammates. This would also see Trent Alexander-Arnold drop into the half space a lot of the time, so they would have Thiago and Trent Alexander-Arnold in each half space with two players with exceptional range of passing to try and break this compact block of Aston Villa. Now, Aston Villa's pressing system revolved around their central forward, using his cover shadow to block access to Fabinho and force the ball into wide areas and then trying to trap possession. Liverpool would typically overload the space between the lines and go with single width, with Salah making inverted runs alongside with Mane, and then having the players like Oxlade-Chamberlain and Jordan Henderson fan out into the half spaces or wide corridors to then keep the balance of the structure. Now, when we would move into a deeper area, we would see the midfield three stay compact about 12 yards apart horizontally from each other, and now the first line of pressure from Aston Villa would start to take a new shape. So their two wide forwards would then drop into the half spaces and between midfielders of Aston Villa, occupying space higher up the field on a different horizontal line and vertical line of their midfielders, giving them natural staggering and increasing their spatial control. But they would then also separate from Ollie Watkins, so they would have a separate line of pressure within their team. This added line of pressure allowed them to then create access to the Liverpool playmakers, especially players like Trent Alexander-Arnold and Thiago on a different line of play. But then we see Liverpool still going with dual width in this moment, and players between the line of Jordan Henderson and Oxlade-Chamberlain. So this pins the defense and keeps them very compact. So although Liverpool's access to these areas is very limited, there is a lot of space on the weak side because of the narrow structure of Aston Villa, and Aston Villa have the potential to not be able to shift as freely because of these players between the lines, pinning and affecting the defense of Aston Villa. We see Matip driving through the midfield by dribbling, which holds the narrow positioning of the forwards of Aston Villa to a central area, giving more time and freedom out wide to players like Trent Alexander-Arnold. Then with the added security of the double pivot, Liverpool also maintain control in transition if the ball were to be lost. So now very clearly in the low block we see the 4-3-2-1, and this is where we see most dominantly the staggering between the midfielders and the deeper forwards. So we see the deeper forwards fill in the space between midfielders just on a higher line of defense. From here it gives them better access to the holding midfielder and makes circulation harder for Liverpool. But Liverpool became more and more dangerous as they would typically take advantage of the wide structure. So we see Salah joining the players between the line with Mane and Henderson, or Mane and Oxlade-Chamberlain on the weak side, with then Henderson coming into the wide area. So when the players would rotate and take advantage of their movement in these wide structures that become very dangerous, Aston Villa would then struggle and concede space in behind and get broken down through the wide areas. This was made possible because the slightly longer distance horizontally between the three midfielders that's required to then cover the large amount of space in the low block horizontally. And deeper forwards don't help very much in this situation because it's a horizontal compactness issue, not so much a vertical issue. So now we'll look at Aston Villa in possession, as they didn't have too many clear-cut chances when they were building out from the back or when they were in possession against this Liverpool side. So with the 4-3-3, we'd often see Sean McGinn playing as a number 8, and he would drop alongside the holding midfielder he was partnered with, that would then be covered by Oxlade-Chamberlain. So although it looks like Sean McGinn is the free player in this situation, Aston Villa played pretty direct, which aided in Liverpool's weakness on this left-hand side, having Thiago play in this midfield position, who's just off our screen here. So Thiago didn't have to step and press as aggressively, which would step out of his comfort zone because Sean McGinn wasn't used as the free player as much, and Aston Villa would more so go direct rather than build up using numerical advantages. When we'd see in the second half, the double pivot for Aston Villa would start higher up the field, trying to increase the space and limit the use of the cover shadow. Oxlade-Chamberlain would then just go higher up the field and not worry about these players who are not connected to the ball as much, so they would focus more on putting pressure to the first line of play. Now, Liverpool had a lot of success when pressing Aston Villa, so that forced Aston Villa to then take a much more direct approach after about the 55-minute mark, and forced Aston Villa to play much more direct and look to then compete for second balls and set up in a more structured way in that sense. So that's probably where we're going to wrap up the analysis. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one.